This is not your business. Her breathing is too easy, almost like she's sleeping in a quiet room. Except we're not in a quiet room. We're in a hospital hallway, lights flickering overhead, the faint scent of antiseptics clinging to every surface. My eyes adjust to the pale glow, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. There's a ringing somewhere, maybe in my head, but it won't stop. Everything is sharp and dull at once. I blink. Once. Twice. My fingers tighten around the thin bedsheet. I can barely feel my own hands. The doctors told me I was lucky to be alive. She told me the same, or so I think. My memory's like a broken mirror. Shards everywhere, reflecting bits and pieces. But I remember her standing over me, brushing hair from my forehead, telling me I'd be okay. And now I hear her voice, calm and dismissive, snapping at someone. She's on the phone. She's turned away. "This is not your business," she repeats, sharper this time, a low hiss. I can't see who she's talking to, but her posture is stiff, the lines of her back tense beneath her blouse. The drip in my IV clicks. My pulse hammers. My mouth is too dry to form words. I swallow, forcing saliva into my throat. My head throbs. I catch glimpses of my wife, Julia, her shoulders rising and falling, but there's none of the panic you'd expect from a spouse who nearly lost her husband a couple of days ago. Her composure unsettles me. I should be grateful she's here at all. But something about the ease of her breathing makes my stomach knot. I recall images, brief flashes, paramedics, something crushing my chest, that unstoppable wave of blackness. Then her face, or maybe it was someone else's, lights swirling. And the pain. Always the pain. Right now, I hear a muffled response from the other end of the phone. Julia's voice dips. I said, "It's not your business. Of course I'm still here. I can't just walk away from him. Not yet. Not yet." I shift, ignoring how the IV tugs at my arm, how the bandages on my chest pull against sutures. She doesn't notice me turning. She thinks I'm asleep. That's the strange thing. Half my body feels numb, but my mind is awake, eavesdropping on every single word. "Don't talk like that," she says into the phone, her voice hushed. "I'll handle it. Please, just trust me." A brief pause, then an impatient sigh. "Look, he's out of it. He doesn't know anything." "Yes, I'll come by when. I told you, when he's stable. Stop pushing me." Her posture shifts, shoulders trembling slightly. For a second, I wonder if she's upset or just frustrated that the call isn't going her way. "Fine," she murmurs, her tone final. She ends the call and slips the phone back into her purse. Then she composes herself, turns to face me. I close my eyes, feigning sleep. A half-second later, I feel her presence at my bedside. My heart quickens. If she notices, she doesn't show it. Her hand grazes my forearm, light as a feather. "John," she whispers. "Are you awake?" I force my breathing to stay steady, chest rising and falling in slow, measured intervals. My mind races, wanting to confront her, to demand some explanation for what I just heard. But I can't. I'm too weak. Even forming a single word feels like a monumental effort. She lingers there, fingertips still against my skin, and I can't help but notice how her hand doesn't tremble the way mine does. Her wedding band catches the fluorescent light, glinting in a sterile white glow. For years, that ring was a comfort to me, a simple circle of gold symbolizing stability and love. Now it looks like a cold band of metal, signifying nothing but a vow she's already broken. I want to speak. I want to say, "Julia, who was that? What did you mean by not yet?" But my tongue is thick, my energy shot. My chest feels tight. The beep of the heart monitor scolds me for even thinking about stress. Finally, she leans in and places a quick kiss on my forehead. It's an obligatory gesture, something she does because she thinks she should. Her lips barely press against my skin. Then she's gone. I hear the tap of her heels as she exits the room, leaving behind a fading echo of her words. In the days that follow, I struggle with a swirl of confusion. My body is on the mend, sure, but my mind churns. Julia visits daily, sometimes briefly, sometimes for an hour or two. She brings flowers, fresh fruit, attempts small talk about real estate. But the phone calls persist. She steps out into the hallway, thinking I'm dozing off. My eyes drift shut, but my ears stay open. The hospital staff treats me with professional kindness. Nurses come and go, adjusting my IV, checking vitals, changing bandages. I practice walking, guided by a physical therapist. My lungs ache with every breath, but I manage. I suppose I'm healing physically. It's the emotional bruise that won't fade. Day by day, I piece together the puzzle. I'm not delusional. Julia's voice changes whenever she talks to this other man, Ethan. I catch the name once, muffled through the door. She thinks I'm knocked out by pain meds. If only. The medication might dull the ache in my torso, but it can't numb the bigger agony building in my chest. One afternoon, I'm drifting between sedation and uneasy awareness when I hear her low laugh. She's in the hallway, just outside my door. The sound is too intimate for a casual friend or coworker. That's the moment I realize she's not simply seeking comfort from a buddy. There's a hidden warmth in her voice that used to be for me alone. My mouth goes dry, my stomach twisting into a knot so tight it hurts worse than the incisions across my ribs. I think back over the past year. Times she came home late, claiming she had showings across town. Nights she seemed distant, locked in text conversations that never ended. A noticeable shift in her affection for me. I chalked it up to stress or the monotony of marriage. I never suspected, or maybe I refused to see it. Now, listening to her hushed words, I'm forced to see it. "How can you want me so much? You're terrible," she says with a flirtatious giggle. Then she lowers her voice, and I can only make out pieces. "No, not here." "Are you crazy?" Another laugh. "Stop it. You're making me." My heart throbs. This is real. I'm wide awake, clinging to every syllable, torn between a desire to burst into the hallway and a paralyzing sense of heartbreak. She's betraying me. Right here, as I lie on a hospital bed with tubes in my veins. My world is turning inside out, and she's giggling like a teenager. A nurse enters quietly, checking my vitals. She sees the look on my face, confusion mixed with rage, and asks if I'm in pain. "I'm fine," I mutter through clenched teeth. She nods sympathetically. I guess she's used to seeing that expression, men battered by more than physical wounds. When Julia returns, I keep my eyes forward, fists clenched by my sides. She puts on a smile that's almost convincing, except I've heard the truth behind it. "Everything okay?" she asks, her tone sweet as honey. I swallow the taste of bitterness. "Never better," I say quietly. My voice is hoarse. She interprets it as me being exhausted. I'm not. I'm furious. But I've learned to lock down that fury. I can't show weakness. Not anymore. She brushes something off my blanket. Imaginary lint. And sighs. "You look pale," she murmurs. "Let me get the nurse." I grab her wrist before she can walk away. My grip is weak, but it's enough to make her turn. Our eyes meet for the first time in days. Hers widens slightly. There's a flicker of guilt, or maybe annoyance, before she recovers. "I'm fine," I say again, this time with a hint of an edge. No nurse required. There's a beat of silence. She forces a gentle smile. "You need rest, John. I'll let you sleep." "Sure," I whisper, letting my hand fall away from her. "Sure." I'm discharged a week later. Doctor's orders, minimal stress, lots of rest, follow-up visits. I nod obediently, though inside I'm not sure how I'll manage the minimal stress part. Julia drives me home. The route is painfully familiar. Our cozy suburban house stands like a monument to the life we built, a life that might have been a lie for who knows how long. She fusses over me, offering to carry my bag, reminding me to take it slow. Her caretaker tone sets my teeth on edge. I clamp down on the urge to lash out. We cross the threshold, and the hush of the house envelops us. The walls, the floors, the furniture, it's all the same, yet it feels foreign, like walking into someone else's living room. That first evening, she tries to act normal. She warms up some soup, sets it in front of me. I sit at the kitchen table, spoon in hand, staring at the steam rising from the bowl. My mind replays the phone calls, the giggles, the half-whispered confessions. I realize I can't even look at her without imagining another man's hands on her. "John," she says gently, "are you okay?" My jaw tightens. "Why do you keep asking me that?" "I'm worried about you. You just got out of the hospital." I'm quiet for a few seconds. Then I set the spoon down. "I'm alive. That's all that matters, right?" Her expression flickers. Maybe she hears the implication. Maybe she ignores it. "Of course," she says, "we both know we're lying." I push the soup away, appetite gone. Her gaze lingers on me, like she's evaluating whether to press further. She chooses not to. Instead, she stands, forcing a thin-lipped smile as she collects the bowl and moves to the sink. I watch her figure from behind, the subtle curve of her waist. Once, seeing her silhouette like that filled me with warmth. Now it's overshadowed by a cold truth. Nighttime is worse. We haven't shared a bed for months. My health issues started long before the hospital. Usually, I'd claim discomfort and take the couch. Now, with my fresh wounds and her forced concern, she suggests I stay in the guest bedroom, where the bed's less soft. "Thanks," I say flatly, dragging my duffel bag across the floor. She stands at the doorway, arms crossed, not quite meeting my eyes. There's a moment where I think she might speak, ask me if I want her to tuck me in, or some nonsense like that. But she says nothing. She just nods once and leaves me alone. I close the door and exhale. I'm too exhausted for anger, so I drop onto the bed, ignoring the twinge of pain. My side stings where the stitches are, but I welcome it. It's a tangible ache, easier to comprehend than the roiling misery inside my head. Sleep doesn't come quickly. Instead, I replay the last weeks in the hospital. There's a voice at the back of my mind telling me to confront her. But how? Should I demand answers, scream about betrayal, or just walk away? My pride bristles at the idea of her seeing me so vulnerable. I can't bear the humiliation. Eventually, I doze off. My dreams are jagged. The next morning, I half expect her to be gone. Instead, I find her in the kitchen, phone in hand, though she sets it aside the moment I step in. We exchange awkward greetings. She asks if I need coffee. I say yes. "Don't overexert yourself," she reminds me, noticing how I brace my side with one hand. I grunt some response. I catch a glimpse of the phone screen before it goes dark. Ethan Parker, my mind supplies, though I can't read the text. Does she think she's being subtle? Or maybe she just doesn't care. Over the following days, a tense pattern emerges. She tries to be the dutiful wife, making sure I take my medication, offering bland conversation about groceries or the neighbor's landscaping. Meanwhile, her phone vibrates at odd hours. She becomes nervous, stepping outside to get some air. Then she returns with a plastic smile and a cheerful tone that sets my teeth on edge. I find myself counting the pills in my bottle, feeling numb, feeling cornered by her deception. She's drifting further away from me, yet still performing the role of caretaker. It's as if she's biding her time, waiting for me to recover just enough, so she can slip away without being labeled the monster who left her husband on his deathbed. By day 5 at home, the tension is unbearable. My anger roils beneath the surface, tightly leashed. Finally, at dinner, some takeout she picked up. I can't hold back. "I heard you in the hospital," I say, voice low. She looks up from her plate of noodles. "What?" The phone calls. I continue, each word precise, like I'm choosing carefully which bullet to load. "You were talking to someone. You didn't realize I was awake." She blinks, sets her fork down. John, I don't know what you... Don't lie to me. I interrupt, my hand clenching into a fist on the table. The pain in my side flares, but I push through it. I'm not an idiot. Her eyes flick to my fist. She's calm on the outside, but I sense her inner scramble. John, you've been through a lot. Maybe you misunderstood. Cut the crap. I snap. I never raise my voice, but now it resonates, echoing through the quiet house. I know. So just say it. Who is he? Her cheeks flush. It's none of your... She stops herself. It's complicated. Complicated. I repeat, letting the word hang. So that's the name of your affair. Because I doubt he's actually named Complicated. She exhales, glaring at me. The mask of concern is slipping. You don't understand, she says. You were so distant. You barely touched me. You were wrapped up in your own world, always tired, always complaining about work. I feel a sick twist in my gut. Of course she'd lay it on me. So it's my fault. Her jaw works, teeth grinding. She looks away. I didn't say that. But you weren't there for me. We grew apart. A bark of laughter slips out. Mirthless. Grew apart, huh? Great justification. She pushes her plate aside. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry I needed something more. My knuckles whiten around the edge of the table. I can sense I'm dangerously close to losing my cool, but I manage to keep my voice steady. I want you to admit that you've been cheating on me. That you're the reason this marriage is destroyed. That you couldn't even wait until I was discharged before you hopped on the phone to remind your lover you'd be free soon. She inhales, lifting her chin. I never wanted to hurt you. This just happened. I stare at her, that phrase echoing in my skull. It just happened. Like an accident. Like slipping on wet pavement. I wonder if that's how she's rationalized it to herself. When I speak again, my tone is cold. So that's your explanation. That's what you're going with. Her gaze flicks to the door, as if she's sizing up an escape route. I'm not explaining anything else tonight. You need rest. I almost laugh at the absurdity, but I settle for a contemptuous sneer. Sure, I say, pushing myself up from the chair, ignoring the flare of pain. I'll rest. You go call Ethan. Finish your conversation. She opens her mouth, but no words come out. I limp to the guest bedroom, leaving her there with the leftovers and a heaviness in the air that's suffocating. The next few days pass in a blur of silent tension. We avoid each other as much as possible. A nuclear standoff in our own home. I spend most of my time in the garage, tinkering with an old engine from a friend's car, though my physical therapist would probably disapprove. It's mindless work that keeps me from fixating on the betrayal. Julia goes about her usual schedule, or claims to, though I suspect she's meeting him whenever she can. I watch from the window sometimes as she gets into her car, phone pressed to her ear, a look of anticipation on her face. She's practically glowing in a way she never does around me anymore. One afternoon, I'm trying to organize a box of tools when I hear a car pull up. My heart lurches. Is it Ethan? The rational part of me says, he wouldn't come here, to my own house. That'd be too brazen. But I can't shake the suspicion. Sure enough, footsteps approach. A shadow passes outside the garage door. My pulse quickens. Then Julia appears, stepping in carefully. She looks startled to see me. She wears a thin blouse, her hair in a loose ponytail that used to drive me crazy with desire, and now all I see is betrayal. I thought you were resting, she says. I was, I answer, turning back to the tools. A beat of silence. Then she exhales, stepping closer. John, we can't keep living like this. I wipe my hand on a rag, refusing to meet her eyes. I agree. Then can we talk? Talk. I let out a short, bitter laugh. The way you talked in the hospital, or the way you talked to Ethan. Her lips tighten. I never meant for it to go this far. I swear. And how far is that, exactly? I snarl, dropping the rag onto the workbench. Did you love him? Or was it just? I stop. My jaw clenches. The images in my mind are painful, but I can't push them out. Her cheeks flush. We. It was more than once. Rage bubbles in my chest. I grip the edge of the bench so hard my fingers ache, but I keep my voice controlled. Guess that answers my question. She shifts her weight, crossing her arms defensively. Do you even remember the last time you touched me? The last time you showed any passion? You've been cold for months, John. You were always working or complaining about your health. I whip around, ignoring the bolt of pain in my torso. So you found comfort in another man's bed. Her eyes flash. Yes, she finally says, voice cracking. Yes, I did. And I can't take it back. Silence slams down between us. I'm breathing heavily, tension rippling through my muscles. Every nerve in my body screams to lash out, to fling accusations and blame. My mind conjures images of them together, skin on skin, her moans, the sounds I used to hear from her only for me. The betrayal sears my gut like acid. When I speak again, it's a growl. Get out. She looks stunned. What? Get out of my garage, I bite off, barely controlling myself. Let me finish here in peace. She opens her mouth to protest, but I glare at her, and she steps back, tears brimming in her eyes. Then she turns and leaves. I collapse onto an old stool, my hand pressed to my bandaged side, pain flaring beneath my ribs. But it's nothing compared to the bitterness strangling my heart. In the days that follow, I formulate a plan. I keep quiet, swallowing my anger, watching her every move. I realize something crucial. She's waiting for me to recover. Once I'm stronger, she'll likely walk out the door, or maybe she'll push for a clean break. She's been biding her time, giving me half-hearted care, all while expecting a soft landing. Not this time. I say nothing to her about leaving or about divorcing, though it's on my mind constantly. Instead, I gather my own strength, physically and mentally. I talk to my lawyer behind her back, discreetly. I figure out what belongs to me. My accounts, my portion of the house, the lines of credit in my name alone. I'm not a wealthy man, but I'm not a fool. She continues to live here, wearing a mask of civility that cracks at the seams each time our eyes meet. I imagine she's still slipping away to see Ethan, though I never confront her about it again. I keep a calm facade, which unnerves her more than if I screamed. There's a tension in the air like the moment before a storm hits. A few weeks later, I schedule my final hospital checkup. The doctor remarks on my healing, says I'm doing remarkably well for a man who nearly died. I nod, clenching my jaw, forcing a smile. If only he knew the real cause of my distress. Finally, one night, Julia returns home late. She tries to sneak in quietly, but I'm in the living room, waiting. The lamp beside me is on, casting long shadows. She flinches when she sees me. I watch her carefully, noting the faint flush on her cheeks, the shine on her lips that was probably smeared off in someone else's kiss. She forces a laugh. You scared me. I don't say a word. She steps closer, uncertain. John, it's late. Can we talk tomorrow? I nod once, slow. Sure, I say. We can talk tomorrow. In fact, we'll have a lot to talk about. She tries to read my expression but fails. Nervous, she slips off her shoes and hurries upstairs. I remain there, letting the fury swirl in my gut. Tonight, I'm collecting the final pieces of me. Tomorrow, I'll deliver the blow. Morning arrives. I pack a small suitcase with my essentials. I pull out an old cardboard box from the garage, one that once held her Christmas decorations. I fill it with her keepsakes that somehow found their way into my personal space over the years. Photos of us on the mantel, a few of her jackets that hung in the front closet, little knickknacks she scattered across the living room. I set the box by the front door. Then I grab the handle of my suitcase, my side still a bit tender, but no longer debilitating. I feel more alive than I have in months. Julia emerges from the bedroom, sees the scene. Her eyes dart from the box to the suitcase. "What are you doing?" she asks, voice trembling. I meet her gaze. "Packing." She swallows. "Packing for what?" My lips form a tight line. "For the rest of my life. Without you." Her face pales. "John, let's talk about this." I cut her off with a raised hand. My voice is quiet, but the anger simmers beneath. "Don't. Just don't. I know everything. I've known for weeks, Julia, and now I'm done. You can go to him, or to hell. I don't care which." Her mouth opens and closes, searching for words. "You can't just leave. Watch me," I say. I nod toward the cardboard box. "That's your stuff. Don't worry about the rest. You'll hear from my lawyer." She steps forward, tears in her eyes. "John, please, you have to understand." "Understand what?" My voice hardens. "That you betrayed me. That you let another man touch you while I was fighting for my life in a hospital bed. That you made a fool of me. This entire marriage. I do understand, Julia. That's why I'm leaving." She lifts a trembling hand, as if to reach for me, but I jerk away. "Don't touch me," I growl. "I've had enough of your lies." Tears spill down her cheeks. "I never meant to destroy us." I laugh bitterly. "But you did." She stares at the box, her face contorting with pain. "Is this really what you want? You won't even try to work on it." My chest tightens. For a moment, I feel the echo of love I once had for her, but it's quickly drowned by the memory of her voice, hushed and seductive, murmuring to Ethan. "No," I say. "This is beyond repair." I grab the handle of my suitcase, step around her, and head toward the door. She's crying openly now, calling my name. I pause at the threshold, turning just enough to see her. The tears glisten on her cheeks. She looks pathetic, small, like a child who's lost her way. I feel a flash of pity, but it's replaced by a cold sense of finality. Then I leave, closing the door behind me with a resolute click. I drive. I don't have a destination in mind, so I wind up on a highway outside the city, letting the miles blur together. My mind wrestles with anger, grief, and a twisted sense of triumph. She wanted to keep me in the dark, quietly planning her next step, but I took that away from her. I severed the rope before she could finish tying the knot around my neck. Eventually, I pull over at a rest stop. The late afternoon sun glares off the asphalt. I park under a lone tree, kill the engine, and just sit there, breathing. My heart's pounding in my chest, and I sense the ache in my side. I close my eyes, leaning back against the seat. I think about revenge. Did I get it? I walked out on her, didn't I? She's probably inside that house, crying, cursing me, maybe calling Ethan to pick up the pieces. The thought stings, but I refuse to let it cripple me. I figure she'll have to explain to him why her security blanket just vanished. Maybe they'll celebrate. Maybe they'll fight. Either way, it's none of my concern anymore. But the revenge isn't as satisfying as I imagined. I'm out here alone. She's still in that house, and I'm sure she'll find a way to rationalize everything. I just parted ways with a chunk of my life, a decade of marriage. The memory of her betrayal remains lodged in my mind, yet there's a grim calm that settles over me. I can breathe without choking on the deception that's been smothering me. I can drive in any direction, do anything I want. The weight of her half-truths and forced smiles no longer hangs around my neck. I fire up the engine and head to a cheap motel off the interstate. It's not much. A faded sign, peeling paint, the faint odor of stale cigarettes in the hallway. But it's a place to lay my head and figure out the next move. The woman at the front desk gives me a sympathetic glance when she sees the exhaustion in my eyes. I accept a key and shuffle to my room. Inside, I drop my suitcase by the door, slump onto the worn bed, and stare at the ceiling fan. It wobbles and clicks as it turns, throwing shadows across the cracked walls. I run a hand over my face, letting out a long breath. I'm free. That's what I tell myself. Free from her lies, free from the charade of a hollow marriage. So why do I feel heavier than ever? I spend days in that motel, barely leaving except for coffee or a hot dog from a nearby gas station. I contact my lawyer, confirm that the divorce papers are in the works. I arrange for a meeting to sign documents, untangle finances, and finalize everything. We discuss how to handle the house. Realistically, it'll be sold or she'll buy out my share. Nights are the worst. I toss and turn, haunted by the intangible sense of betrayal. My side throbs with phantom pain, as if my body's reminding me what I endured, both physically and emotionally. Sometimes I reach out in my half-dreaming state, expecting to feel her warmth. Instead, I find an empty, lumpy pillow. I keep expecting a call or a text from Julia, but my phone stays silent, aside from spam messages and an occasional check-in from my sister in Seattle, who knows nothing about what happened. I don't have the energy to explain. When the phone finally does ring late one night, I grab it, heart pounding. It's her. I stare at the screen, the picture of Julia's smiling face from happier times. My throat constricts. 1,000 emotions slam into me. Anger, sorrow, nostalgia, fury. At the last second, I decline the call. I throw the phone onto the bed. My breath comes fast, my hands shaking. She tries again. I let it ring. Then again. Finally, a text appears. Please talk to me. I need to explain. Explain. As if there's anything left to clarify. I power off the phone and bury my face in my hands. The next morning, after a fitful sleep, I decide it's time to meet with my lawyer in person. I can't hide in this motel forever. In the shower, as the scalding water beats down on my battered body, I notice the faint scar on my chest from the surgery. A sob threatens to claw its way out of my throat, but I clamp down on it. I'm done crying. Half an hour later, I'm on the road, heading back into the city. My mind is set on putting this behind me. Maybe I'll rent a small apartment, get a dog, fix up old cars in a quiet garage somewhere. No delusions, no betrayals, just me and the hum of an engine. I arrive at my lawyer's office, a modest building with a gray facade. She's a friend of a friend, but she's good at what she does. We sit in a cramped conference room with flickering fluorescent lights. She slides documents across the table, explaining each clause in calm, measured tones. I sign where necessary, the pen scratch sounding final. Part of me wants to weep for the 10 years of marriage reduced to legal paragraphs, but I swallow that emotion, letting it sink into the pit of my stomach. The final page is a property statement. I keep certain assets, she keeps others. The details swirl in my head, but I trust my lawyer's guidance. After we're done, I stand. So that's it. I ask, voice hollow. She nods. That's it. She'll be served officially in a few days. If she doesn't contest, everything should be straightforward. I press my lips together, a wave of both relief and nausea hitting me. Thank you. I manage, turning to leave. She clears her throat. John, you look like you could use someone to talk to. A counselor, maybe. I force a tight smile. I'll consider it, I lie. Then I walk out the door. I get back in my car, feeling strangely weightless, like I might float away. I turn on the ignition, the radio crackling to life with some country ballad about heartbreak and cheating. Figures. I laugh bitterly and switch it off. Before I can shift into drive, a figure appears in my rearview mirror. Julia. She's jogging across the parking lot, hair whipping around her face, eyes red. My stomach churns. She must have followed me or tracked me down. I consider speeding away, but something in her expression makes me hesitate. Instead, I roll down the window as she approaches. She's out of breath, her voice frantic. John, please. I hold up a hand. You have a lot of nerve coming here. She places a trembling hand on the door, tears brimming again. I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I just need you to listen for a second. My jaw tightens. I don't owe you anything. She nods, fresh tears sliding down her cheeks. I know. but let me at least say my piece. Then I'll leave you alone if you want me to. I glance away, jaw clenched so tight it feels like it might break. Then I give a small nod, gesturing for her to speak. She inhales, struggling for composure. I didn't plan to betray you, but I was lonely. You were so distant, always in pain, always shutting me out. We lost our spark. When Ethan came along, it felt like, I don't know, like I mattered to someone again. I snort. You mattered to me, but you never bothered to tell me you were unhappy. She wipes her eyes. I tried. You never listened. My mind flashes with memories of me brushing off her attempts at date nights or ignoring her stories about real estate drama. There's a kernel of truth to what she says, but it doesn't excuse what she did. So you found someone else. Her face twists. Yes, and I hated myself for it. But you got so sick, and I couldn't leave you then. I still cared. Cared. I echo, the word tasting bitter. Maybe you did, but you also giggled on the phone with him while I was half dead in a hospital bed. She flinches as if slapped. I know. I'm sorry. We stare at each other, the moment heavy. The distant hum of traffic and the flicker of a neon sign from across the street are the only background noises. Finally, I say, go be with Ethan. Isn't that what you wanted? She looks devastated, tears streaking her cheeks. It's not that simple. Well, it sure as hell isn't simple for me either. I snap, voice rising. Then I pause, forcing myself to calm down. But I'm done. I signed everything. Her eyes widen in renewed panic. You filed for divorce. I nod, meeting her gaze. Yes. Papers go out soon. You can keep the house or sell it. I don't care. She opens her mouth, speechless. Then her shoulders sag, and she steps back from the car. So that's it, she whispers. It is, I say quietly, shifting into drive. I hope you find whatever you were looking for. John, she says, her voice trembling. I'm sorry. I stare at her one last time. Despite everything, a part of me will always remember the woman I married. The nights we laughed. The mornings we woke up tangled in each other's arms. But that part has been eclipsed by her betrayal. I press the gas. She stands there, tears glistening under the early afternoon sun, until I vanish around the corner. The weeks that follow feel surreal. I sign a temporary lease at a furnished apartment near the outskirts of town. It's a humble place, just a living room, a bedroom, and a cramped kitchen. But it's mine. I spend most days trying to get back on my feet, physically and emotionally. I go to physical therapy twice a week, forcing my body to regain strength. I don't speak to Julia again. My lawyer informs me that she's not contesting. Fine. Let it be over. I keep myself busy, applying for a different position at my company, something less physically demanding. My boss, sympathetic about my health issues, arranges a smooth transition. Some nights, I sit on the small balcony, sipping cheap whiskey out of a tumbler I found in the cupboard. The city lights flicker in the distance. I feel an odd mix of emptiness and liberation. I remember the day I left her with that box of her belongings, how I thought it would feel triumphant. But the triumph is hollow. Still, I'm convinced it was necessary. I pay the emotional price. My trust in her, and in myself, is shattered. I see no immediate path to healing that. But at least I'm not shackled to a woman who laughs on the phone with another man. One night, I'm rummaging through my phone. I find old photos of her, us, smiling at the beach, at a friend's barbecue. From the early days when everything felt alive and full of promise. My throat tightens, tears threatening. Anger flares again, but it's tempered by sadness this time. I delete them, one by one. It's like burning a letter from a lover who died. Except she didn't die. She chose another path. As the images vanish, I feel a strange relief, coupled with a deep ache. That's the price. The permanent cost of letting go. Months pass. I finalize the divorce. The house is sold. We split the funds. She gets slightly more, which ironically suits me fine. The idea of taking anything more from that place only weighs me down. I prefer a clean cut. By now, my scars have mostly healed, physically anyway. I've got a faint line down my chest, where the surgeons did their work. There's still tenderness, especially when the weather changes, but I can breathe better. I feel steadier on my feet. When I think of Julia, it's with a distant sense of sorrow and anger. She tried to contact me a few times, left messages that I never responded to. She said she needed closure. I guess we all do, but life rarely gives neat endings. I find a new normal. I accept a job as a consultant for a local manufacturing plant, less physically demanding, more about project management. The money's decent, and it keeps me moving forward. I buy a used pickup truck, one with enough grunt to haul around anything I might tinker with. Sometimes I'll be grabbing coffee or standing in line at the grocery store, and I'll see a couple holding hands, exchanging soft smiles. It used to spark bitterness in me, but lately I just sigh and let it pass. Love is fragile. It can shatter if you're not careful. Part of me wonders if I'll ever risk it again. One day, after a particularly long shift at work, I find myself driving out on a lonely highway. The open sky stretches above me, clouds drifting like slow ships. My chest feels lighter than it has in years. I pull the truck over onto the shoulder, step out, and just breathe. The wind whips past, carrying the scent of grass and earth. A train horn sounds in the distance. I press a hand to my chest, feeling the scar beneath my shirt. That's my badge of survival. I think back to the hospital, to the moment I overheard her laughter, her promise to meet him as soon as I was stable. I recall the rage, the heartbreak, the whispered curses, and then I remember walking out with that cardboard box, leaving her behind. I shake my head, feeling an odd mix of regret and relief. In that moment, I understand that every step I took afterward, every painful decision, was necessary for me to remain myself. Yes, I paid a price in heartbreak. But if I had stayed with her, I would have paid with my dignity, maybe even my life. The sun edges closer to the horizon, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. I get back in my truck, leaning against the steering wheel for a moment, letting the tension seep out of my shoulders. I survived her betrayal. I survived the hospital bed. I survived the final confrontation that ripped my heart in two. And here I am, breathing, living, standing on my own 2 feet. Perhaps that's the quiet revenge, carrying on without her, on my own terms. I start the engine again, the rumble under the hood a reminder that, broken as I am, I'm still in control of my life's direction. I press the accelerator, the tires rolling forward, the road open in front of me. This time, I'm not dragging the weight of her deception behind me. I drive off into the fading light, my foot steady on the gas pedal, the horizon wide and beckoning, and for the first time in a long time, I don't feel lost. I feel free.